tecnológicos, estratégicos y logísticos. Se trata de Local Market Intelligence, una robusta herramienta analítica de Mastercard Advisors. Con ella, los afiliados de Azul podrán estudiar el comportamiento de compra de sus clientes y la tendencia de consumo en su segmento competitivo. Obtendrán data a nivel nacional con el análisis experto de Mastercard Advisors que podrán utilizar para optimizar sus operaciones y conocer cuál es el mejor tipo de oferta que deben brindar a sus consumidores actuales y potenciales. Mediante Local Market Intelligence, facilitaremos al afiliado un portal al que podrá acceder en línea desde su laptop, móvil o tableta. Este servicio, al igual que el resto de nuestras soluciones, es netamente seguro y mantendrá la información del afiliado a nivel confidencial. Gracias a esta alianza estratégica con Mastercard, en Azul continuaremos agregando valor a nuestros afiliados. Evolucionamos más allá de la mera transaccionalidad del pago para presentarles la importancia y la oportunidad de fortalecer la inteligencia comercial de sus negocios. Sus números pueden mejorar mucho aplicando esta herramienta. Con Local Market Intelligence, les facilitaremos la primera herramienta de estudio del comportamiento de compra del tarjetaviente en el país. Esto impactará positivamente las operaciones y ventas de sus negocios, porque conocerán el comportamiento del consumidor, lo que le facilitará la toma de decisiones para mejorar la experiencia de compra de sus clientes. Agradecemos a Mastercard su confianza en Azul y su predisposición a tenernos como aliado estratégico para la introducción de esta plataforma en la República Dominicana. Con este servicio innovador, una innovación más que trae Azul, presenta a sus clientes, continuamos impulsando el crecimiento del mercado de pagos dominicano en beneficio de nuestros afiliados y de los consumidores. Nuestra plataforma Inteligencia Comercial, que integra la solución Local Market Intelligence de Mastercard, seguirá ofreciendo nuevas herramientas y beneficios en pro del comercio local. 3 años después de iniciar operaciones, en Azul mantenemos en firme nuestro compromiso de estar siempre en la vanguardia para brindarles la mejor solución disponible en el mercado a nivel mundial. Tengan total certeza de esto. Muchas gracias por la confianza y feliz resto del día.
Muchas gracias al señor Rol Grullón, gerente general de Servicios Digitales Popular, por sus palabras, donde nos comenta algunas claves del novedoso servicio Local Market Intelligence. Ahora les pido su atención para ver un audiovisual que explica la funcionalidad de esta herramienta que Azul integra a su portafolio de servicios y que desde hoy estará disponible a sus clientes afiliados. Adelante, video.
Bienvenidos a Inteligencia Comercial, el Local Market Intelligence de Mastercard Advisors. Es un informe estratégico en línea que te ayudará a optimizar tu negocio, tomando decisiones inteligentes basadas en el análisis de tu mercado y tu competencia, al que podrás acceder desde tu computadora, laptop o tableta. Es interactivo y te presenta gráficas con métricas clave que te muestran el comportamiento comercial de tu localidad, basadas en el análisis experto de Mastercard sobre la tendencia de compra del tarjetaviente. Ahora veamos lo que Local Market Intelligence puede hacer por tu negocio. Al iniciar sesión, se mostrarán gráficas organizadas en secciones que responden 3 preguntas críticas de tu negocio. ¿Cuál es su comportamiento? ¿Qué tan leales son tus clientes? ¿Y cómo puedes atraer más clientes? En cada sección también encontrarás inteligentes recomendaciones para solucionar las oportunidades de mejora identificadas. Esta sección contiene métricas que incluyen los promedios de compra, de visitas y de gasto por cliente. Podrás comparar tus resultados con lo logrado en el mes y año anterior y con tu competencia. Estos datos te servirán para evaluar tu estrategia de precios y oportunidades comerciales. Esta sección provee información sobre el gasto promedio de tu industria, días entre visitas y clientes repetidos. Así, podrás ver cómo los cambios de estacionalidad impactan las ventas en tu negocio y tu industria, y cuáles promociones puedes realizar para mantener la lealtad de tus clientes. Esta última parte analiza los detalles de tu localidad y de tu competencia, sobre nuevos clientes, las transacciones por hora del día y el gasto por día de la semana. Con esto, podrás aumentar tu eficiencia operacional y de mercadeo, planificando tus horarios de servicio y ofertas estratégicamente. Con Local Market Intelligence, empieza a ver tu negocio con mayor claridad y aumenta tu ventaja competitiva. Es tiempo de evolucionar con Azul y Mastercard.
Servicios Digitales Popular, desde sus inicios, hace ya 3 años, mantiene el compromiso de presentar innovaciones en beneficio de la dinamización del mercado en pagos en el país. A continuación, recibimos al señor Marcelo Tangioni, director del Territorio del Caribe para Mastercard, quien profundizará en algunos detalles del Local Market Intelligence. Bienvenido, señor Tangioni.
Muy buenos días a todos. Gracias por acompañarnos en esta mañana. En primer lugar, me gustaría disculparme por mi español, o debería decir mi portuñol, que es como decimos nosotros en nuestro país, en Brasil. Voy a intentar hacerlo lo mejor posible, entonces ya le pido disculpas anticipadamente. Para mí es un gran placer empezar mi rol como gerente general del Caribe para Mastercard en un país como República Dominicana, que es un país que ha liderado la región caribeña por muchos temas, y principalmente sobre los temas de pagos electrónicos. Mastercard cree firmemente que alianzas estratégicas como esas que hicimos con Azul son capaces de desarrollar productos y servicios de clase mundial. Entonces, para nosotros es un placer muy grande, es un orgullo tremendo empezar esta alianza con Azul y lanzar este producto de alta tecnología por la primera vez en Latinoamérica, aquí en República Dominicana. Mastercard es una empresa de tecnología de pagos global, presente en más de 210 países y territorios, con productos y soluciones que tienen como objetivo tornar las transacciones del día a día, como compras, como viajes, por ejemplo, de la forma más sencilla y segura posible. Nuestra misión es transformar un mundo allá del efectivo, y para eso contamos con todos ustedes aquí para lograrnos ese reto. En República Dominicana, la participación de los medios de pago sobre el consumo privado está cerca de 10-11%. Entonces, eso significa que hay una oportunidad tremenda para nosotros para avanzarnos en este tema en el país. Nosotros también acreditamos que los negocios, especialmente las pymes en República Dominicana, son un gran impulsor de la economía local. 27% del Producto Interno Bruto viene de la producción de las pymes, y unos 57% de los trabajos son generados por estos tipos de negocios. Local Market Intelligence ayudará a estos negocios a se tornarem más competitivos a través de análisis de datos de sus negocios y la competencia, proporcionando un aumento considerable del aumento de las ventas. Nosotros tenemos un estudio llamado el Merchant Scope, que indica que menos de la mitad de las compañías de medio y pequeño porte utilizan informaciones para tomar las decisiones estratégicas con el negocio. Entonces, nosotros queremos que haya una oportunidad muy grande para ayudarlos en ese negocio. Local Market Intelligence, como vimos en el video, responde a 3 preguntas muy críticas para el negocio de ustedes. Una, ¿cuál es el comportamiento de mi negocio? Otro, ¿qué tan leal son mis clientes? Y por fin, ¿cómo puedo atraer más clientes? Por fin, me gustaría agradecer a todos los negocios aquí presentes, a Azul, por la alianza formada con nosotros, y a la prensa por su presencia y apoyo a este evento. Muchas gracias, que tengan un buen día.
Muchas gracias al señor Tangioni por sus palabras. Sin más, llegó el momento de presentarles a la señora Sarah Quinlan, vicepresidenta senior de Market Insights de Mastercard, quien dictará la conferencia Big Data y su impacto en el retail. Desde que se incorporó a Mastercard en enero del año 2013, la señora Quinlan ha asesorado ejecutivos de diversas industrias, incluyendo retail, banca, mercados de capitales y agencias gubernamentales, proporcionando tendencias micro y macroeconómicas relacionadas con el gasto de consumo y las ventas minoristas. Es ampliamente reconocida como una experta en su campo y aparece regularmente en los medios de comunicación norteamericanos y británicos de primera línea. También es oradora frecuente en importantes conferencias de la industria de los medios de pago. Recibamos con un fuerte aplauso a la señora Quinlan.
Thank you. I'm switching to English, I apologize, but I will tell you that I'm from Boston, and so my love for Dominican Republic extends beyond my heart because we love David Ortiz. All right? So when they asked me to come down here, I was like, of course, will David be there? So thank you so much for having me today. I want to take you through a little bit of data. We're talking about how through local market intelligence we can use data, but the importance is really, we've talked about it since big data became a topic, and the question is, how do we actually think about this? And the way we think about it at Mastercard is it's only as good as you use it. Right? So you could collect all the data that you want, and some of the biggest companies in the world do this. But if they don't make it actionable so you make money, it is really not valuable to you. So what I'm going to do is really show you some of the data that we have at Mastercard that we're able to then really translate into economic growth so you can understand what should I be tracking? How should I be focusing my business in a certain direction? So we're very fortunate at Mastercard. We see 160 million transactions per hour. And I'm also very fortunate because I have 2,000 data scientists behind me who then add 1.5 million rules and algorithms to bring it up to total retail spend, including cash and check. So I'm going to show you more than just Mastercard transactions in the numbers here, so you really can understand and see the entire economy. And the reason that we want to do this is I want you to understand you can really take the consumer's behavior to the bank, as we say. And what do I mean by that? We don't all of a sudden have midlife crises and act very differently. We really have a pattern of how we each spend. And the key, what we're trying to help you with LMI, is to help you say, how do I understand that pattern? And how does it fit into the bigger picture of what's going on in the overall economy? All right, so obviously the most important thing that you see in the economic growth here in the Dominican Republic is to really understand that private spending drives at least 50% of growth here on a consistent basis. So really, as the personal consumer goes, so goes the country. So it's so important that you really do understand at the local level, at your individual store level, what's going on. Because why? Well, the biggest thing that happened post the recession of 2008 is we decided that we liked our family and friends again. And you're saying, Sarah, what are you talking about? What I mean by that is that we decided that we were going to focus on experiences. So it's a real challenge for all of you that sell goods, is how do I create an experience within my business? Because we've watched this whole evolution. And if the consumer is driving over 50% of spending, you need to understand how to get on that train and be part of that consumption level. So one of the things that's obviously exceptionally important here is the increase in visitors, especially as we know from the U.S. So I did bring you some U.S. data so you could really understand how the U.S. consumer is doing, because it is very impactful, because it's quite a symbiotic relationship, as you know, between the two countries. And we're watching these huge arrivals from plane going up and up and up. And that reflects what I was saying about the experiential economy. In America, what I will tell you, the #1 gift for Christmas last year in the United States was an airline ticket. The #2 was hotels. #5 was restaurant. So think about that. The ugly Christmas sweater didn't make it, right? So we were very focused, again, so now is how do you become that destination? Because one of the most interesting things about the fact that we travel so much anymore is when we travel, and this accounts for everybody in the entire world, no matter what country you come from. When we travel, we take at least one day for shopping. So thinking about people coming down here and taking a day and really spending in the economy down here and the importance that that has in terms of thinking about the exponential spending that comes from that is so important. And that's what I want you to really understand, is what we lack, again, post the recession, is time. Everybody is working. So when we're on holiday, we actually spend. And that's the key thing to realize. It's a real change in behavior from 2008 to now. All right, so again, looking at the year-over-year arrivals, the interesting thing that you see here is quite a lot of volatility in this. So trying to plan for the arrivals of people coming down here, why is this important to the business community down here? Because the thing that's very important is we also know that when people go and visit a place, they're also looking for business investment. And that's one of the most interesting things. When we watch repeat visitors, we see then people come back, buy a home, invest in the island, bring their business down here. So it's extremely important when you're thinking about growing an economy is using this tourism to drive the actual business. And that's what we see on a consistent basis. Hotel spending, the interesting thing, look at the Americans drop on what they're spending on hotels. This is very abnormal. I want you to understand the #1 thing that Americans typically spend on holiday around the world is hotels. So it's very interesting to see that that's not the same thing. Why? Because they actually are spending times in homes down here. And that's the thing to understand. That's the distinction. And that's the insight you draw out of this. So the traditional marketing to that person just in a hotel is not necessarily going to drive some of the spending that you're thinking about. However, the Canadians coming back and spending much stronger. The interesting thing about Europe in there, that is not the UK. Since the UK voted to leave the EU, their spending has dropped dramatically in travel around the world. They are traveling. Travel is up in the UK this year, but it's local. I like to tease all my friends in Great Britain that it's because they're looking for where they're going to buy their home to live once Brexit's done. But the reality is that they're not traveling to the US, they're not traveling to Australia, they're not traveling down to the Caribbean as much because of the instability and uncertainty as to what's going to happen. And that's why you have good reason to be optimistic down here, because there is good certainty within the region of economic growth coming back, and we can see that improvement, and that leads people to spend more. All right, obviously it doesn't surprise you that Americans drive a larger share of the tourism spend down here. They've got 42% of the visitors here. But the interesting thing to watch is this change in the US dollar. So think about it. Every single person in this room I know has a cell phone, probably 2. And the thing is, because you have a cell phone, you now have a currency calculator. And this is the interesting thing that we again have watched in the last 5 years, is that the consumer is much more acute to changes in strength or weakness of their own currency. So it's very important for you to watch the local currency, because you'll watch that spend. As I flew in last night from Miami, you could see everybody coming on board with bags and purchasing. Now, the question for you, and this is where LMI can help you, is are those things that people could have purchased down here? Are your prices correct? Have you got that equivalent goods being sold at a similar price? Because that person now knows through transparency what the spending cost is, which is very, very critical. So the key thing that I'm trying to show here is, watching sort of this change of watching Americans taking a larger share of spend. Why does this matter? Because I want you to start to think that you have to watch 2 economies. You have to watch your local economy, but you also have to watch the U.S. You really have to realize, as we continue to get stronger up there, and that's the good news for you, is that the U.S. economy is doing exceptionally well. That then translates into a better, and that means that you can then invest more down here. That's the point of how it links together. And that's, again, using the insight of the data of how this works. Again, looking sort of at the tourist arrivals and things like that, you see the slowing because that's the weakening of the U.S. dollar, right? And we spend less when it happens. And that's the key thing to understand when you start to look at some of these charts. However, Americans, one of the things, always the way to get us is our restaurants. Well, LMI, one of the big focuses we've done here in the tool that we've created here in the Dominican Republic is to make certain that restaurants are pulled to the top. And you're really going to be able to see this comparative. Why? Because restaurant spending in the United States has been up for the last 3 years between 6 and 8% every single month. We don't cook anymore in the U.S. Let me be clear. We haven't figured out how to do that, and by the next generation, those kids, Generation Z, they won't even know how to use the microwave. So the key thing to understanding is really keeping that restaurant spending going, because that's what people are going to want to do. So appreciating that and having that information available to them is really critical to see. This is not spending on retail. So it's really interesting thing to note here, watching the Latin American economies recover, you can start to see the improvement of their spending on retail goods. So that's regular shopping, shopping on clothes, et cetera, right? So one of the things that to understand is, as things were in deep recession, as you know, things were down in Brazil, Argentina, Venezuela, that spending went away. But now you can see that improvement, and that's what we consider extremely positive. And that's one of the great things that we can track, is to understand, but look at the domestic spending. And that's the key thing to appreciate, is that we can actually see locally the confidence coming back in terms of the steadiness of the spend that we look for in the economy here. Canadian and European visitors have contributed quite strongly to overall retail spending down here. Again, these are very important things to measure, because this is the type of spending, as I said, that very much translates into an entire economy, because as the visitors come in and spend more, then the local people have more to spend, and it gets that engine, that economic engine that we're looking to keep going, moving forward, which is exactly what we're thinking about. So one of the things I wanted to show, just to get you an understanding, again, how to use data, as I mentioned, is the U.S. economy, right? Because why? Well, obviously, it is the biggest economy in the world. There's been a lot of comments that it's not doing well. And usually, if I'm in front of an American audience, I'll ask people, how many people think the U.S. economy is doing well? And maybe only half the people will raise their hands. And this is the interesting thing between, respectfully to the press in the room, and the reality, right? Because the thing is, we know if people have a job, they are spending. That's the key thing. That's what happened in 2008 that permanently changed. Before 2008, we all bought on credit. We all borrowed and spent regardless. After 2008, we only spend if we have a job. And I mean, this is in every country in the world. This is not just US-centric. And that's what we see on a consistent basis. So we're really able to measure the strength of a given economy. So the key thing to understand in the US is the unemployment rate keeps dropping, right? But wages are also going up. And that's what's leading to this. So this is retail spending in the US, exceptionally strong. Remember, this is 70% of the U.S. economy in this chart, right? You see that little dip in February. That's just because last year was a leap year and there was an extra day. But the point to understand here is this is extremely strong. That consumer is there. Thus, you must focus in on pulling this consumer down here. That is the key, because this is what I'm saying they're doing, but this is what I want you to focus on. You heard that Marcella was talking about small business. This is very important, because the key thing that happened in the recession worldwide is we decided we didn't want to be like everyone else. We want to be unique. We want to look different. We want to have different experiences. So how do I know this? Because small business shopping here in the Dominican Republic and in the United States has exploded. It's over 25% down here. It's over 37% of total spending in the United States. But think about it. If I am shopping at a small business in the Dominican Republic, I know that I'm paying full price because you can't volume discount, right? You're a smaller business, so you can't go and buy in bulk. So the key thing is people are willing and able to pay that higher price. So it's not about everything being on sale all the time. This is the insight I want you to take away. It's not about being the cheapest. It's about being what we call value for money consumers. So the key thing is the consumer here in the Dominican Republic wants to feel like and by the way, in the Dominican Republic, 75% of transactions are made by women. And gentlemen, we influence the other 25%. You know this. All right? So the point is, she is willing to pay full price because she feels it's valuable to her, right? And that's why she'll shop at a unique boutique or go for services here or whatever. And that's what I want you to understand. And this is where LMI as a tool can be so helpful to help differentiate you, to help you measure in real time, am I different enough? Am I really providing that value to that consumer? Am I selling at the right price? Maybe you're selling too cheaply, right? And these are the key things that we know we can pull out of this. And this is the key thing to appreciate. So here's the restaurant spending I was talking about in the US. I'm not joking. The grocery stores are concerned because literally people really are dining out all the time. This is the airline spend. So what you should understand about this is that literally every plane in the US is full. But the best part about the US is finally 40% of Americans have a passport. Good heavens. It should be higher, we understand that. But suffice to say, 40% now have a passport, which means they can come down here and they can visit frequently, and there's more flights available. And the point is, what I want you to see is they are consistently flying more, despite that green line going up, which means prices are going up for tickets. So this is how they are choosing to spend their time. And this is what I want you to really understand, because when you buy an airline ticket, you buy it 2 months ahead of when you travel. And that's the point. And this is spending on hotels. And that's why I want you to focus on trying to get the hotel spend up down here. Because the interesting thing here is, if you can see the little graphic there, it says 73 out of the last 74 months, hotel spending has gone up. So Americans very much put a big portion of their budget towards hotels. So it's critical. Again, online travel agencies is another way that we book. So again, what does this mean for you as a business? Thinking about making certain your advertising sinks in with that value proposition. But also as a small business person, I want you to think about building alliances. And this is what the data tells you, is if people have a preference and they're spending a lot of their money over here, maybe that's not your business, but aligning with them, partnering with them, is a way to actually broaden your own business. But again, the key thing is measuring in real time what you're doing, how valuable is the efforts that your team is making, so you can adjust strategy midstream. It's no longer good enough to have an annual marketing plan. It must evolve constantly. We don't rent cars anymore in the US. Think about Uber, Lyft, right? That's the thing to understand, very important to recognize. Online, very important. I want you to really think about this, right? Because online growth is double digits. But the key thing to understand about online spending all over the world, including in the Dominican Republic, is the highest place of percentage of spending in the entire world is in the UK, and it's only 13% of total retail sales. So what I want you to understand about online is there is this idea that everybody, and especially millennials and younger people, are all going to buy everything online. That is so untrue. I want you to realize that shopping is social. We like each other. Remember I said we like our family and friends. So this key understanding is what online is for is the curation of the value proposition of your business. It's where people go to learn, where they want to get information, where they do look at prices, but they also look, does it come in yellow? Does it, come in another color? What are the specifications? So it's more education than it is actual purchases. What sells online, by the way, are commodity-like products. So electronics are the biggest things that sell online. And by the way, the other thing that really sells online is children's clothing, because mom does it at 10 o'clock at night when she gets home and after the kids are in bed, right? I see the nods. So this is true, right? And so we see it growing. In the United States, it's only 8.5% of spend. So this is the key thing to understand. As I said, it's all electronics is really where the spend is online. More unique things do not sell. And children's apparel leads on a consistent basis. So grocery sales, this is a very interesting one. I put up small business grocery sales here because I wanted you to understand that the little grocery spending that's going on in the U.S. is being done in places which are smaller. Why? Because the key thing to understand is that we want flavor, we want taste. We're going to more unique, sort of cultural, distinct grocery stores to do our shopping, which gives you a huge advantage. We do shop at off-price retail. It is important to understand that value for money. We do buy a few kids' clothes. We're investing in homes. So think about it. If people are buying homes down here, which is what I told you they're doing, which is why they're not staying in hotels, selling furniture to them is very important. They really understand the value of nesting post the recession. And this is the key thing. And then we obviously like to accessorize our homes, so that's why furnishings do very, very well. And then we're investing in them. So think about who's in home improvement down here. This is where LMI would be very valuable down here, to understand people wanting to improve their homes, buying a home down here and investing in it. Because again, this is where the service industry has become as important as the goods industry in terms of what people are selling. Now, we don't buy clothes in the United States anymore. Let's be really clear. Children's, we do. Men and women, we don't. All right, and this is a very big difference to just understand that we're basically wearing jeans up there every day in the U.S. So clothing's not going to be the big seller for us, right? Women haven't bought in almost 6 months, which is pretty amazing, right? And men, that was us buying for you. So, and then the department stores, again, this is a really interesting phenomenon, but we're watching this actually happen in Canada. So we're watching this happen in the UK as well. So understand that overall, we are starting to like department stores less. So that would not be an attraction down here to people who are coming and visiting. They will actually want the boutique. They will want the more unique store that you can offer to sell them. And that's why, again, I want you to meld the two data sets, the data set of the local spending as well as marrying with the dominant sort of U.S. spending that comes down here, so that then you have captured both and can use the information to drive your business. E-commerce is not working for the department stores. So again, it's not an issue that e-commerce is winning there. It's an issue of that box not working. And so this is the interesting thing about luxury. So I want to talk a little bit about luxury sales, because a lot of people feel that everybody goes from here to the U.S. to buy luxury. And in fact, the data does not show that, all right, to be interestingly enough. The fact is that post the recession, it's no longer chic to be chic. People aren't buying luxury, period, anywhere in the world. And it's really interesting. We've seen a huge drop in luxury spending everywhere, in Paris, in London, in the U.S. And what's going on here? Well, there's a couple things that are going on here. First and foremost, the luxury consumer prior to the recession was much more in the gifting mode. They were buying that luxury good to give to someone else. It wasn't necessarily for themselves. That's number one. Number two, it never really has been, for example, the American or the British consumer's taste to buy luxury. It was always people visiting the country who were actually buying it, but the stronger pound and the stronger dollar has dissuaded that luxury spending. So the key thing is we haven't really seen this rebound. It's a little bit better than it was, but it's really been with massive discounting. So I just want you to really caution and think about, when you're thinking about sort of luxury goods down here, be very careful. And the key thing, it doesn't mean that they never sell, but it's what you want is to be more unique, more scarce, and at a different price point, all right? Because that's where you'll actually be able to drive that type of spending. And this is, again, watching the millennials. They have no interest. They have the money. Trust me. They have the money. We're watching them travel all the time, but they do not spend on luxury. So be clear that this is not a question of recovery from recessions or challenges in that regard. This is a real question of taste and value and what people want to do. And people would rather take a trip down here to play golf at one of your amazing resorts, that includes me, rather than doing anything else. And so I want you to really remember that as you're thinking about these behaviors. So I brought this information to sort of give you a taste, an understanding. But the key that I really want you to take away here is it's not enough to just have this snapshot that I came in and gave you an account of where things are in the economy down here, that you can see that clearly the local consumer is steady and continuing to spend. We're seeing improvement in the visitors and their spending. But it's to understand, how do I get this information on an ongoing basis? How do I make certain that I'm understanding so I can plan for these trends, that I can think about how much I need to order in merchandise? How do I keep myself very current with what people want to have? And that's the key thing. And what are the ways that maybe I marry services? And I'll give you one final example. All over the world right now, we actually see a drop in cosmetic sales, but we see an increase in cosmetic services. So the key is lead with the service, marry then the product thereafter with it. So it's thinking about things like that that comes out of the data. And that's why I encourage you very much to really come in and test this LMI product, because I understand if you see in your business this on a daily basis and you can really measure in real time, your employees will be significantly more engaged because they will feel that they have a way to act and improve the business and grow the business over time. And we know there's only one word for that at Mastercard, and that, of course, is priceless. So with that, I thank you very much for your time.
We have a session of question and answer now.
Yep.
Muchísimas gracias a la señora Quinlan por estas importantes informaciones que nos ha brindado esta mañana. Definitivamente la era digital ha cambiado y ha revolucionado el modelo de hacer negocios. Ahora abrimos una sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor, levantar sus manos para que una colaboradora se acerque con el micrófono. ¿Alguna pregunta acerca de lo que la señora Quinlan ha compartido con nosotros? ¿Alguna inquietud? Sí. Un momento, por favor.
I guess I'll break the ice. I found it very interesting what you said about e-commerce and how e-commerce isn't really driving sales, because for years, and especially here in the DR, we've been talking about e-commerce and how to develop e-commerce within the country, considering all the challenges, let's say, that we're facing. So a little bit about your thoughts about why e-commerce isn't the big, huge thing that it's supposed to be.
Sure. I think this is a really important topic, and thank you for the question. The reason, in our opinion, that e-commerce has not taken off to the level that it was predicted, it doesn't mean it's not growing. It is absolutely growing, but at a much slower pace in terms of taking share of overall retail sales, is first and foremost that thing that I mentioned, time. You know, the consumer, she is working. And so one of the biggest problems with e-commerce, everybody thought it would save people time, but in fact, no one has time for the returns. So what sells online are commodity-like products. So kids' clothes, well, they'll grow into it, okay? But you might buy a dress and it doesn't fit, and then you've got to return it. Or bigger items that are more, that you have to rebox up and then drop off somewhere. And the logistics of e-commerce has not yet become convenient worldwide for people. And that's one of the big issues that we really see. So returns are one of the biggest problems. And I think that's the key thing. And thus, the other thing is that I really do believe that there's a limit to it, because we do like being with each other. I have a 26-year-old daughter who I lovingly refer to as my cost center. And what I mean, and I tease her, is that when we go out and have lunch together, she says, let's go shopping, always, and with my credit card, of course. And the point to understand there is we want to compare, we want to be together and share that experience. And I think that's why we see the second reason why we don't see e-commerce, because e-commerce is a one-on-one experience with you and a computer. It is not a social. So between the logistics really not working and it being still very, very difficult. So what I expect to happen going forward is that things that are more like, I don't know, paper towels for your house, and things that you wouldn't return, water, bottles of water or whatever, that makes sense that will continue to grow. But otherwise, I still think that there will be, when you get to more unique things like jewelry or dresses or things like that are very specific to a person, you'll still see a hesitancy of the growth there.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Perfecto.
Hi. Zoe, can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Yes, now. What do you see in trends when it comes to Aldi and Lidl and Amazon and all that retail sector, and what might happen with the big ones, Walmart, Target? Could you comment on that?
Sure. The interesting thing that's happened with that general merchandise sector, which is what we call that sector, is it's actually been steadily growing worldwide. And what's happened is remember I said that the consumer is a value for money consumer. So the consumer, despite the fact that her income has improved worldwide, as she's come out of the recession, debts have been paid down, and people know that people's personal balance sheets are better than ever, we still see this consumer wanting to shop at these stores because they find good value there. They find the quality of the goods that they want, and thus. So the interesting thing is when you put in the e-commerce in there, we do not see yet, for example, any significant purchasing of groceries online, all right? So there's been, a lot of investment in the sector. We see a little bit there, don't get me wrong. It's less than 3% in the United States, for example. It's 7% down, which is the biggest in New Zealand, all right? But it's not anything large. So it'll be very interesting to see. But I do expect these dominant large chains to continue to hold their value for the reason that the consumer says, great, for the basic groceries of my life, the basic, things that I need for my home, there's good value here. And then they bifurcate, and then they go to boutiques to buy the more unique items. And so you see this sort of divide between sort of the general stuff that we get, the general merchandise, and that's why those companies are still doing very, very well. And then you see it. So it's not about the cheapness. It's not about a price fight. And the key thing is that it's interesting on the grocery side, we are watching the discounts lessen because they've realized it did nothing to gain market share by losing money. And that was the key thing. It was really understanding, do I have the offerings? The key thing, though, that I'll say that's very important down here to recognize is, again, time being the most valuable thing. People don't have time to cook, so they are going out more, right? Which means that center aisle of the grocery store with all the packaged goods definitely needs to shrink because people aren't buying as much there. They're going around what we call the outside, where they get the fresh food, the fresh fruit, the fresh meat, fresh fish, and that's where most of the spending in the grocery stores is.
Una pregunta aquí, por favor.
Susan, you made an interesting comment about your daughter, where you go out for lunch with her and then she says, hey, let's go shopping too. and you spoke about experiences, right? That people want experiences. Can you give us any kind of insights in terms of how we should be thinking about combining some of these events, you know, from a merchant perspective, where maybe if I partner with another kind of merchant so that we can provide a combined experience that people are looking for, that can help to drive my sales as well?
I think there's nothing more important because, again, we truly see there is no longer a direct tie between income levels rising and increased goods consumption. That's what's broken since 2008. And you have to understand it's not coming back. So the key thing to understand is we just want permanent memories, right? Because you can't take away a memory from me once I've had it. So this idea of how do I tie the experience together with then a good. So I'll give you an example. My family, my mother-in-law turned 90, my sister-in-law turned 60, and my niece turned 30. So instead of us all giving gifts to each other, we all took a cruise to Alaska. But what did we do? Well, we all made big fleeces, sweatshirts, because it's freezing, right? And hats, right? With a logo and family. And so in other words, something that tied and gave us a physical memory with it. So thinking about how do you partner is that you sit there and you say, well, you know, we know that people go to these hotels, but then they like to, you know, get massages and maybe, or they want an experience of, you know, going fishing, but then you tie in with a restaurant to actually cook the fish that you caught, type of thing. Thinking about how you can partner and tie into that experience, and then maybe having a photo experience out of that. And then thinking about how do I then make shirts that have pictures of the photos I just had. Those types of things where you can tie in the entire experience, and that's the key thing, because clearly one of the most interesting things that we see again is my generation, the baby boomers, all right, which worldwide is the richest generation ever. As we are downsizing, the next generation doesn't want any of our stuff, right? So we're watching, even though we're happy to give it to them for free, they don't want it. So the key is to understand how do we then tie in to this. So again, it doesn't mean if you sell clothing that you're never going to sell clothing again, but tying it into the experiences people are having, all right, and understanding, you know, and realizing, like I said, that we're not buying as much luxury clothes anymore. We're not going to as many black tie formal events. We don't do those types of things. Thus, we need a little bit more casual type clothing that fits into the everyday lifestyle of what people are doing. That's how you can think about pairing and working in the experiences.
¿Alguna otra pregunta en el público? Bueno, pues agradecemos mucho a la señora Quinlan por su participación esta mañana y por las importantes informaciones que nos ha brindado. Nuestros ejecutivos, un aplauso. Les informo que nuestros ejecutivos y colaboradores de Azul están a su disposición para contestar cualquier inquietud que tengan sobre este novedoso servicio Local Market Intelligence. Agradecemos una vez más la presencia de todos ustedes durante esta mañana y les deseamos que pasen feliz resto del día. Buenos días.